What is going on, beautiful people? For today's episode, it looks like we have Keke Palmer visiting Kamala Harris to discuss the maternal health crisis. Hopefully, she does not waste this opportunity, as most celebrities do when they meet political figures. I love Keke Palmer, okay? Akilah and the Bee, she stole my heart. She also was in the film Pimp, which she did a great job. I feel like she should have gotten an Academy Award, and she was also inside the movie Nope on Netflix. Let's take a look and see what Keke thinks.
This is Keke.
Oh my goodness! Mr. Leo! Hi, Mama. Oh, look at you, perfect child.
Congratulations on the baby too, Keke.
He loves you. How are you?
Hello. As you guys may know, I've been a mother for 4 months now, and it has changed my life incredibly. Not just in figure, but personal, career. I mean, in just the way that I look at mothers that have come before me now that I'm finally in their shoes. I mean, motherhood is fabulous, but it also comes with its own unique challenges. And I immediately knew, I think the first week, that most mothers do not get the support that they need, because I found myself to be struggling, and I had family, friends, everyone within arm's reach, and it still was a lot. And as always, when I get into a topic, I have to talk to the best of the best on baby. This is Keke Palmer. So I'm very excited to introduce you guys to my guest today, Madam V. Baby, this is
3, 2. What is going on, beautiful people? And for today's video, we have Keke Palmer meeting with Kamala Harris to discuss the maternal health crisis. So yeah, motherhood is really important. Mental health is extremely important. Kamala Harris is a political figure. Hopefully, Keke does not waste this opportunity like most celebrities do when they meet political figures. I love Keke Palmer. Akilah and the Bee, she stole my heart. She was also in the movie Pimp, which in my opinion, she should have gotten an Academy Award for. And she was also in the movie Nope, which she did an excellent job in that as well. Let's see what's going on and see what Keke has to discuss with Kamala about motherhood.
This is Keke.
Oh my goodness! Mr. Leo! Hi, Mama. Oh, look at you, perfect child. He loves you.
By the way, congratulations on the baby, Keke.
How are you?
Hello. As you guys may know, I've been a mother for 4 months now, and it has changed my life incredibly. Not just in figure, but personal, career. I mean, in just the way that I look at mothers that have come before me now that I'm finally in their shoes. I mean, motherhood is fabulous, but it also comes with its own unique challenges. And I immediately knew, I think the first week, that most mothers do not get the support that they need, because I found myself to be struggling, and I had family, friends, everyone within arm's reach. And
Take note of that, young ladies, and the men that knock up these young ladies.
it still was a lot. And as always, when I get into a topic, I have to talk to the best of the best on baby. This is Keke Palmer. So I'm very excited to introduce you guys to my guest today, Madam VP, Kamala Harris. Hello! It is so good to be here with you. Before we get into everything, I just gotta ask, how you doing? What's the tea? How's things been going since I last seen you?
I'm good, honey. But it was the highlight of my day was to meet Leo. Are you kidding? He's just precious.
When I got that call, I think it was, first of all, I don't know how you do all the things you're doing and then you find the time to call us. Literally just a few days after he was born. I'm like, unknown voicemail, who is this? Hello, it's Madam VP Kamala Harris. I'm like, oh my God, tell Leo I welcome. I loved it. It made my heart feel so full.
That is dope. Her calling Keke Palmer, congratulating her on the baby is so dope.
That you could even just take time out your busy schedule to say hello to us.
Please, just you are doing your thing in so many ways, and just congratulations to you, to Darius, to that beautiful baby you brought in the world. Congratulations.
Thank you
Truly.
so much. Thank you. God is good.
Every day, all the time.
Yeah.
Being a parent is a blessing, guys. I'm a father. I have a 2-year-old. Daddy, EJ, if you're watching this, Daddy, love you. Being a parent's great.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, the last time I spoke to you, we were at the Lightyear party that you threw with NASA.
Yes.
Uzo was there. We had the screening. It was so
Remember
lovely.
that? Uh-huh.
But right before then, I got it all in the biz, trying to figure out how you deal as a political official.
Yeah.
With having so many different things going on. I mean, there are tons of issues in the world. Half of them's probably in America. But no, in all seriousness, there's a lot of things for you to have to focus on, and you can't do everything at once. And then the one thing or the few things that you focus at, people still can have problems with that.
Yeah.
But you spoke very clearly about the maternal health crisis.
Yes.
And how that was very important for you this term. And I mean, I heard you when we were talking about it then, but now I'm a mother.
Right.
And it's become a
Because
very...
you weren't even pregnant then when we had that conversation.
I was not.
Right.
I was not. So
That's right.
It's really become a personal thing for me. So I just want to talk about what makes it a crisis and why, in a world with all these things we have going on, why was this the most important for you right now?
So, first of all, it falls under the umbrella for me of just what are still the failures of our healthcare system as it relates to women's health care. And that could be anything from fibroid care,
Yes.
to breast cancer, to maternal health, to reproductive care and access to reproductive care. And so I think of it that way. And the majority of my career I've spent focused on the health, the safety, and the well-being of women and children. I mean, even when I was DA, that was a focus of my work, a main focus of my work was to address abuse against women and children.
And to be fair, in my personal opinion, the best thing that you could do for women and for mothers and for children is to make sure that the father is present inside the home, or at least is heavily involved inside the child's life.
And so on the issue of the maternal health care crisis, it is truly a health care crisis in America in that we are one of the richest countries in the world, if not the richest. And we have one of the highest rates of maternal mortality in the world. This is completely unacceptable. And when you look closely at the issue, black women are 3 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth than other women.
I gotta understand that, because obviously we could just say, oh, it's racism, right? But how do we break it down? Obviously, I'm sure systemic racism is part of that. But to what degree, right? Is this, the disparity in the communities? Is this people don't believe black women? Is it, how does it actually contribute to this issue exactly?
It's the staff, bro. It's the staff. When me and my girl, God bless her heart, when my girl was doing labor, she was in labor for 2 days, and we had 2 different nurses, right? The first nurse was extremely rude, was making all kinds of rude comments, kind of belittling my girl. And I should have said something. This was my first experience, my first child. I was nervous. I was scared. I was terrified. So I didn't really know how to put my foot down. And my sister was telling me and my sister's practically like my mother. So my mother was telling me to put my foot down and to stand up to the nurses and to see what's going on. But I just didn't know any better. So long story short, the nurse that was giving us a hard time for the past day and a half had left. Her shift was done. So a new nurse came in, and she was very encouraging. She was nurturing, and she even elevated the bed because it turns out her hips were up too high. So the second nurse that came on shift, she had just started her shift. She gave Aisha great encouragement. She lowered the bed, lowered her legs, and then she was eventually able to push him out. And they were literally 15 minutes from giving her a C-section, which we really didn't want. It adds to the recovery time. But the staff's mindset and their attitude and their experience and their approach and methods to assisting the patient makes the world of a difference. But let's see what Kamala thinks. And I'm sure racism does some way, shape, or form affect it. I'm not saying it's literal racism, but it's how you treat the patient. If you aren't the biggest fan of black people, or if you treat a black person differently than a white person, or if any other ethnicity, that may change the result and the experience that the patient's going to have.
We're losing black women like this.
So, to your point, there are a lot of factors, to be sure. But one of the biggest, has to do with the fact that she is a black woman.
I mean, really?
And when she walks into that hospital, that clinic, or that doctor's office, she is not taken as seriously. The facts support the reality, which is that regardless of her socioeconomic or education level, she is still looking at the likelihood that she is more likely to not be taken seriously and to then have outcomes in terms of her health care that reflect that. But there are other things. It's about the stressors, right? So it could be everything from the lack of access to transportation, the lack of access to high quality health care.
If you don't have good health coverage through your job, that is a you problem. That's not a race problem. If you don't have a car or someone to drive you like your man, like the father of your children, not only did I have time off to spend time with my child and to assist my girl during the delivery process, I was also there every step of the way. So this has nothing to do with the hospitals. It has more so to do with your decision making to get a good job with good benefits, which allow you to pay for that care at good facilities, which you can choose which health coverage you belong to, which gives you access to certain hospitals. And again, right, if your man isn't there, you need to make sure that you have some form of support to make sure that you can drive to the hospital. That is your responsibility. I understand that you are pregnant, but come on, people.
For example, you look at so many of our women who are in the South, and in particular in rural areas in the South, and healthcare deserts. You look at Texas and Oklahoma as two examples of other areas where in half the counties in Texas and Oklahoma, they don't even have one OBGYN.
So it's not even accessible.
That's exactly right. So there are a variety of factors, but the bottom line is this. The bottom line is that these women should not be dying.
No.
Well, no, duh, right? But once again, if you live in an area where you do not have health coverage within a certain radius, right? There isn't an OGBYN or a hospital for delivering your baby within a certain radius for it to be safe, right? When we drove to the hospital, I got there in 13, 15 minutes. We actually got there too early because her water started to break, and we had at least another 5 to 6 hours before the delivery process was going to start. And so I think that's kind of cap. I'm gonna be honest with you, where you live, what your health coverage is, that's a you problem. That's a decision.
And they should be taken seriously. So a lot of the work that I've done, even when I was in the Senate, was about saying what we need to do to train healthcare professionals to understand the racial bias.
Right, because we're talking about years of propaganda, you know what I mean? We've all experienced it as black women. People have not believed me many times.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, guys, with the race card, turn it down. Turn down the racism just a tad. Let's relax, with the blaming the white man. Let's chill. Has nothing to do with the color of your skin. We're milking it a little bit too much, guys. This really doesn't benefit anybody by blaming the white man. The white man. It's all the white man's fault.
Yes.
So to me, it's interesting to hear you talk about how it's about unlearning and relearning how to humanize the black woman, which it's insane that we're still here at 2023. It's we're still beating down that same thing, but it's important.
And to also respect the dignity of black women's bodies and the intelligence of black women to let you know what they need and then listen to that. And so a lot of the work that I'm doing is about what we need to do to speak truth about this, even though it might be difficult for some people to hear.
Yeah.
And then to act on it, right, with solutions. So part of it is, for example, I love doulas, right? And
Absolutely.
Who are predominantly women from the community who have a community care kind of approach to what they do to help pregnant women and women immediately after and shortly after childbirth in giving them a safe place.
Yes.
Where they are treated with dignity, where they are respected, where they're listened to, right? That's so important. The other piece of this is also to remind our sisters, our cousins, our aunties, our best friends, when you go to speak to that healthcare professional, that doctor or that nurse, require that they answer your questions and know you have every right to ask any question that is on your mind.
Well, no, duh. Okay, that's just being assertive and just basic communication. Like, of course, that's a requirement. That's a requirement of anything, any form of customer service. If you have questions, you're supposed to get answered. They're actually legally required to answer those questions. Like, this is common sense. Come on, Kamala.
Yes, autonomy.
Absolutely right. And it's their job to answer your questions. So know that, and let's support each other in saying, go in that room, and when you go in that room, you ask your questions and require that they're answered. It's about letting folks know when you go into those situations, go, if you need to, with a list ahead of time where you are tracking how you are feeling.
You mean like being prepared?
Because you will be asked sometimes, and often you'll be asked, how's it been? How are you doing? So start keeping a list and notes about how you're feeling. Are you having discomfort? Have you had a fever?
I love what you
Things
said,
like that.
also speaking about the doula, because this is something that's seen as a specialty, and it should be a necessity. And I think, shout out to Erykah Badu, someone that is in the public eye, pop culture, who has constantly normalized the use of that, because that person can't advocate for you if you are afraid to advocate for yourself. So I love how you speak about that.
And
Never be afraid to say something or to advocate for yourself. If you're a father, or especially if you're the mother giving birth, you have your child. Those are the stakes. Is your child. Your child is at risk here if you don't say anything. Say something.
And also, in the thing that she's been doing, and
common
what
sense
doulas will advocate for, is you as the pregnant person, as the pregnant woman, create a team. And your team will include your doctor and your doula, right?
Yes.
And who will each, and that they should coordinate around each other.
And the father.
And respect each other. Part of the work that I did even in the Senate to deal with the racial bias is to say doulas should be part of the trainers for doctors around how to think about how they approach listening and respecting and also understanding.
Because there's two different ways of thinking, right? There's what I've learned and what's in school, or what I was taught, and then there's just what doulas are. A lot of that is instinctual. But I want to go back to something else that we're talking about from the top. Why is it important for other people, right? Because a lot of people might say, well, I'm not a woman. I don't have kids. I'm not a black woman. Why is this? How is this important to everybody? How is this affecting all of us? How can we get, how can we help other people understand that this being a crisis, a maternal crisis, is a crisis for all?
I mean, just being very frank with you, Keke, I think that we also, all of us, have to agree that we're not going to allow this kind of culture in our country to take hold where the sign of strength is based on who you beat down instead of...
I feel like that really didn't answer the question, but continue.
We measure your strength based on who you lift up.
You're making me drop my cards? And the reason why is because
you know what I'm saying.
James Baldwin, James Baldwin has an incredible, I'm going to butcher the quote, but essentially is if I serve you poop on a stick and I serve you poop on a plate, it's poop regardless. So yes, just because I'm kicking them down harder, that can either distract you from the fact that I'm kicking you down, or it can scare you so much into submission that you say nothing.
That was a terrible answer and an even worse example. But you know what? They're trying. I'll give them some credit. They're trying.
Plus, it's the sign of a coward.
Come on now.
It's the sign of a coward. The sign of a strong person is just watch how they lift people up. And so on an issue like maternal health and maternal mortality, it's also about helping people to understand that it's a sign of strength, and certainly I think an attribute of a real leader, to have empathy, which is to have some level of curiosity, concern, and then care for another human being who may be a perfect stranger to you. Right?
Yes, and that's what we need more of. That's what we need more of. That's what I feel like, as a black person, even with all that we've endured, I consider myself a patriot. I care about this country.
That's exactly right.
And I know that we could do better.
That's right.
So, yes to everything you said, which makes me think about, obviously, June 24th. It's been about a year from now.
Yes, the Dobbs decision.
Since Roe versus Wade was overturned. I feel like that directly connects to what we're talking about, right? How can we be having a maternal health crisis and then people saying have more kids? I mean, but mothers don't have access to doulas. They don't have, it's always breast is best, but you can't get a lactation consultant unless you're, above middle class, if that even exists anymore.
And if you do, and you have to go back to work because you can't afford or you don't have maternity leave that is paid, then you go to work and then you have to deal with a situation where there's nowhere for you to pump.
Guys, these are all personal choices. Okay, whenever you sign up for your job, if you think you're going to have a child, you need to have this conversation with your hiring manager. Okay, these politicians cannot change where you work, what position you have, or the benefits that this company offers that you're going to. Okay, let's make this very clear. Like, I get it, right? And they're talking about their fifis, their feelings, right? No one cares about your feelings, and you can't expect for someone else, a total stranger, to advocate for you, for your services, for your care, as far as childbirth goes, and the maternal side of it as well. It's just not realistic, but they're trying. They're trying.
And it is not respected that you might need that time, much less what you might need after childbirth in terms of postpartum care.
Come on.
So all of that, and that's why these things are connected. Let me tell you something.
They're not connected.
In the top 10 states that have the highest rates of maternal mortality are the same states that have banned abortion. So you look at it, and this is where I get quite upset.
Yeah.
About the hypocrisy, because the same people who say on the issue of access to reproductive care and the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body, they'll say, because I care about women and children. And you're the same people that are so-called leading a place that has some of the highest rates of maternal mortality.
There are a variety of reasons why women don't survive childbirth and why children don't survive childbirth. I feel like those are not connected. The survival rate of childbirth and the care that's available, it's night and day. And the care that's received, I just feel like there's no connection, me personally. This is coming from a person who had a child during the pandemic. We both had time off. We both had a good job, good benefits. I'm from Pittsburgh. We had UPMC healthcare at UPMC hospital. That's where my son was born. And besides the little tilt issue and, my girl being in labor for practically 2 days straight, everything was a pretty smooth ride. And yeah, I'm from the north, but guys, if you're not in the area where care is available and you're not asking these questions, you're not on Google, because everybody has one of these, right? Everybody has a smartphone. If you're not using these, that is your fault. These politicians cannot change, your decision making. They can't make these important decisions for you. You have to do this as a parent. As a patient, these are questions you have to ask. You have to fill out paperwork. You have to show up to your appointments. You have to follow the recommended guidelines from your specialist. You have to put in the work. But I'll let her continue. They're trying at least, but it's like, come on, Kamala. Like, you're kind of, not really. You're not really being accountable here. Like, be real.
So, which is it?
That's how and I don't want to speak for all millennials, but we've seen a lot of things where it's like, oh, that wasn't what we thought it was. Oh, that was. So when we deal with stuff like this, like you said, the hypocrisy that we're seeing yet again from what is a government level, how are we supposed to be hopeful? There's misinformation out there, and then there's just like, wait a minute, what do we do when it comes to what seems so clear? How do we get back excited and involved and say, hey, I can make a difference, I can make a change, when people are obviously doing things that are nonsensical,
So first of all, it means that we can see clearly, to your point, what is happening in real time right now and call it what it is, which is the highest court in our land just took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the women of America, from the people of America.
Bro, okay, look, right? Deleting babies after you're pregnant, I don't think that it is, I don't think it's right. I'm going to be honest with you. It is your responsibility it is your responsibility. You spread your legs. You decided not to take the pill. You skipped condoms, the whole 9 yards. Guys, we got to take accountability. Like, I don't think this is a form of healthcare. Whether it's a right is not for me to say, right? But to say that it is mandatory healthcare that we all should pay for, I don't think so. Personal opinion.
Because what they did with that ruling is they said, essentially, a woman does not have the right to make decisions about her own body. The government will make those decisions about what happens to her body. And here's the thing that I have to say, Keke, because I think it's so important on this subject. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree that the government should not be telling her what to do with her body. Absolutely. That's up to her and her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, but not the government telling her what should happen to her body. And so let's call it what it is, right? Which is, this is about going backward.
It is.
You know, we are a country that, you know, my parents were active in the civil rights movement. It's been about fighting for the expansion of rights. And now people are trying to restrict rights, to reduce the rights, and in particular the rights of women to make decisions about their body. Think historically where
it's ridiculous
that goes, and then where it might go in the future if we don't stand up and activate and understand what's happening right in front of us.
And that's what I want to talk about, right? Because I can go on my YouTube rabbit hole and talk about the reasons as to why and the conspiracies. You know, the kids, we get caught up in that.
Yeah.
But I think my energy should be more focused towards what can I do, right? You know, Mother Teresa says there can be no great things done, only small things with great love, right? I can't just do that and it's all solved. But Madam VP, what can we do? How can we feel like we have a choice or a say in this? What are the few actions, practical and tangible actions?
Safe sex, having health care, making sure the father's involved, cooperative parenting, making sure you're putting the kid first. What else? Good financial decisions, minimalizing debt. What else? Creating a budget. What else? Having a financial plan for security in the future. What else? I could go all day. I can go all day. There's so many things you could do to prevent stuff like this from happening, and especially on the safe sex part of it. You know, shit. I gotta be real, dog. Safe sex is the best sex.
That we can take to say, hey, I made a difference, you know, or I can do something where I'm at, you know, in my backyard.
There are nonprofit organizations that support this issue and support the right of women to have access to reproductive care, and you could get involved in supporting those nonprofit organizations. But ultimately it comes down to elections, because it is state legislators, it is governors, it is attorney general. If you're in a state that has, and there are states that are saying doctors can go to jail for providing abortion care, then you might want to take a look at any election coming up for who's going to be your prosecutor. And are they prepared to put a doctor or a nurse in jail for giving a woman access to the reproductive care that she requests and desires?
You mean removing a child that's alive? That's what you mean. So we're just gonna justify the deletion of children. That's okay. The kid did not ask to be here. Like, let's be clear. This child that you put in this world because of your actions did not ask to be here. Coming from a father that went through all of the emotions that every parent that had an unexpected child goes through. And at the end of the day, the kid did not ask to be here. So because it's brought into this world from your actions, you're just going to go ahead and delete it. Let's call it for what it is. Let's not sugarcoat now. Let's not sugarcoat.
So elections matter on this, because ultimately the goal is we need to pass legislation at the federal level that puts back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade. That's the only way we're going to ultimately push down all these states that are criminalizing healthcare providers, that are punishing poor women in particular, because women who live in a state where there's no reproductive health care have to figure out how they can afford to go to travel to another state.
I'm wondering how valuable you think it is when we talk about standing up and you talk about your family's background. If we want to protest, if we want to stand up against this, how valuable is that in a situation like this?
It matters.
How I don't even know if you can speak on this, but how could we activate from that point of view? You know what I mean? To say, hey, I'm not taking it. I've gone through these steps. We've played this game. We've done it your way. We did this dance. Now I'm pissed. Okay?
Right.
Because you lost. You're a sore loser. The whole point of it is for you to vote, right? And if there's enough votes, it gets passed. If it doesn't pass, it does, it's illegal, right? The law doesn't change. So you're supposed to take your ball and go home when you lose. You're not supposed to pout on the court and throw a temper tantrum. And this isn't like taxes. This isn't education. This is deleting a child because you're irresponsible. Let's call it for what it is.
So now when I'm pissed, what is the next step?
So it is, for example, anytime you know that there is an organizing event that is taking place.
Okay.
It is about using your social media to make clear to your friends, everybody's got to be active on this because our lives are at stake. I mean...
No, our lives are not at stake. The children's lives are at stake. The children that you're trying to wipe from the earth, they're at stake. Like the mothers who made the poor decisions, their lives are very much here, right? And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, if they don't have access to the healthcare, they're going to find other ways of doing it anyway. And guys, I hate to say it, this is a part of decision making. We can't be held responsible for people's poor decision making constantly. And like I said, I held myself to such a high standard before I became a father to never be unprepared and bring a child into this world. And I failed. And I went through a very long process of self-forgiveness because I was put into this world in an unorthodox situation as far as family goes. I was given the wooden spoon. I did not like the wooden spoon. I had a chip on my shoulder for a very long time because of it. And I did not want my child to have the same fate. Luckily, I'm able to out-hustle all of my setbacks and to come back and get everything that I didn't get before and more. But to put it in perspective, guys, it's all about accountability. You can't expect the government to come save you.
This is the fact that young women, there are 24 million women approximately in the United States of America who are at childbearing age.
Yep.
Who live in a state where abortion has been banned.
That's just crazy.
It's not.
So 24 million women who could potentially have an unwanted pregnancy and live in a place where they will not have access to care and where potentially anybody who gives them care could be put in jail. Think about that.
It's horrible.
Think about that. And again, think about, this is something people don't like to hear and discuss, but think about the fact that in a lot of these cases where they've banned access to abortion care, they're also saying there's no exception for rape or incest.
Exactly.
Now, I do think there should be an exception for that, guys. I'm not a heartless savage. If it's a scenario like that and you can prove it, and if there's a police report, then absolutely, without question, I'm all for it. But a lot of these people are trying to dodge accountability and the consequence of their actions, and they want to be able to go back out there and run the streets. And I feel like you don't deserve that second chance if you are out here removing babies.
And Keke, just, I specialized in those cases for a while. You're talking about, we got to break this down, right? This is about being real, okay? So she just went through and survived an act of violence to her body, a violation of her body. And then the government is saying, and the next thing that happens to your body, you don't have a choice over.
My mother grew up with a girl in her neighborhood, and she never went to her home. And one time she asked her, let's say her name is Jane. Jane, why we don't never, where you live at? She's like, I live in a group home because I had 3 kids by my father.
Yeah, right.
That's sad.
Right.
That's sad.
3 kids?
I know.
By your father?
I know.
So, yeah.
And Keke, that happens more than we talk about.
That's nasty.
All over our country around child molestation or rape. And here's the thing. Why would you make this person who has suffered and survived such an act continue to suffer because they're unable to exercise self-determination? Part of the movement around progress, whether it be the civil rights movement or anything else that has been about progress, is to say we support and will defend the right for people to have self-determination, which is about the right of people to make and have choices about what happens to them.
I love what you said about getting together and not being afraid to stand and not being afraid to make the hard choices and decisions. You know what I mean? So I know you have a million things to do, and I could talk to you for days. But, at the end of our show, we always play a little game.
Okay.
So I want to play this game with you. It's called Questions That Need to Be Answered, and it's in the ether of the kids.
Okay.
They want to know these questions from you, Madam VP. And if you don't like them, you can pass.
Okay.
We'll edit it out. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, question number 1. How many times a month do you get a silk press?
So, I don't use a curling iron. It's too much heat. I use a round brush.
Now, what kind of magical round brush? I mean, your hair must be super fine, Madam VP.
Well, no, it's not. It
do you
takes
do
a
this?
while. A boar bristle, or but it takes a lot of heat. But it's just too much heat to do that and do.
Girl, you have us shook on the internet. We're like, how she always got to say you and Queen Latifah are going neck and neck with the
Y'all
silk
are
press.
stupid.
You giving it to us? Okay, so it's a round brush, girls. We've got to get into that. Okay, next one. Now, don't be shy with this.
Okay.
How often do you Uber Eats dinner to the White House? Do you Uber, or are you a DoorDash
Oh
person?
God, no.
Don't tell me you cooking all the time.
Man, they would get her so quick if she ever ordered some DoorDash. Quit playing, Keke. Come on, girl. You know better than that. You know she ain't ordering no DoorDash. That's a security risk on every level.
Well, no, but we can't, for security reasons, I can't have deliveries.
They can't even get the people to Uber?
Duh.
None of the DoorDash? Oh, girl.
But I do like to cook. I don't cook that often because I don't have time, but I love to cook. So
Okay.
Sunday family dinner in particular, it takes a lot for me to not be able to cook Sunday dinner.
She lying. Look at her looking to the side, bro. She ain't cooking no dinner. Y'all know goddamn well she ain't cooking no dinner.
That's just that means a lot to me.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Stop
so
the cap.
That's a shame. Okay. Well, we know you like to work out. That's when you did the we did it, John. So I've got to ask you,
All right, best.
what is on your playlist? What are you listening to when you work out?
Here comes another disappointing answer. I'm watching the news because I work out.
It's giving focus.
I work out early in the
She's an
morning.
idiot.
Okay.
And
It's giving focus.
And that's the time I can catch up on the news before
She
I
is
just,
stupid.
Oh,
hit the streets.
I'm not mad at it. I mean,
Yeah.
the
She's
news is
hilarious,
entertaining. It can
though.
be scary too. But
It can be
keep you
scary, but it
focused.
kind of gives me an idea of what people are thinking about and talking about that day. And I always wanted to
funny.
be aware of that.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Obviously, I have to ask this because you are from the Bay Area. So,
Yes.
what is your favorite E40 song? I know you got to know.
E40. She don't know nothing about no E40. She lined her up. She was not ready for this.
I think, well, let me say this. I would prefer to talk about Too Short.
Oh!
Okay, wait,
Come
let
on,
me.
girl.
She did not bring up Too Short. You talking about the dude that's like, bitch, if a bitch, this video definitely get demonetized. Man, Too Short used the word bitch every other song. I cannot believe this.
I
now,
love
Madam
E40. Now, I love E40. I love everything about E40. But because we're here in D.C., my cousin's son is going to start going to Howard.
Ooh.
And from Oakland. And I was reminded of the fact that, so I would take full credit for bringing my bootleg tapes of Too Short to Howard University so that all my friends from like Chicago and Philly, I turned them on to Too Short.
Yeah, Too Short, do not show up on the Madam VP doorstep, okay? She don't need that. Last one.
Oh, I saw him though recently. He was here at the White House.
You're kidding? Oh my gosh,
did.
I love that. I mean, he's everything.
He is everything.
Last one, because, you know, we love getting into your fashions, okay? You always get a nice suit, but you're also casual, too, at the same time. We like the Converses. Will we ever get a Madam VP Converse line?
Oh, that's interesting. I do love my Converse.
I mean, you wear them well.
I have all kinds of different colors and high top and low top. I prefer the low top. If I did, I'd probably want like a freedom line, you know? Right?
Yes.
Can you see that? Where
absolutely.
It would be some would be on the Converse. You know, freedom to be, freedom to.
I am free.
Right. I am free. Free to march. Free to walk my talk.
Madam V.
When you ever seen a Kamala Harris march? Show me a picture, please.
VP Kamala Harris's
Freedom line.
Freedom line. I don't need much, just a little fine to see. I'm here for that line. And I'm here for you. And I thank you so much for your time.
Keke,
We're so happy to have you.
I'm so happy to be with you.
Please keep killing it and doing what you're doing because we need it, you know?
We're all in this together.
Yes.
We really
Come
are.
on, High School Musical.
We are all in this.
She's stupid.
We are.
I just think there's so much about this moment where you do this so beautifully, which is to remind people they're not alone, you know? That's so important, and it's a great gift you give, and thank you for that.
Thank you. God bless you. And thank you.
And you.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
All right, so it looks like that's the end of it, guys. This was actually a little bit more detailed than I had expected. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Keke Palmer did a great job in this interview. It wasn't as stale. The questions weren't as like underhanded as they normally are when politicians ask or when celebrities ask politicians questions. The only thing that really bothered me is they really dodged around what they were trying to say. Like, you know, removing babies and disposing of them, unaliving them is not women's health care. You know, like I feel like if you, and what I mean by that is this: if you get pregnant by a man by having consensual sex and it's both agreed upon, and you do not have birth control, you are not you're not using condoms, he's not pulling out, and you get pregnant, and you don't want to deal with the responsibility and or the burden of being a parent. And I feel like if you're over the age of 16, that is your fault. And it's also your parents' fault. I am kind of sad at how they handled that and how they danced around the conversation and what that really is and what that process really is. Besides that, I think this was a great interview. I am a big Keke Palmer fan, man, and this is Hollywood, right? So although I love Keke Palmer and I'm totally against what they're trying to push, I know that they put these celebrities, on the main stage to interview these politicians for the votes, for support of the politicians, not only just for Kamala but also for Joe Biden. So please keep in mind. Please keep that in mind. And one crazy thing is that this is two women talking about removing a child, and they've never had the removal themselves. You know, and I feel like in order for people to truly speak on this in the outrage over Roe versus Wade, I want to hear from the mothers that have actually gotten the removals, right? I want to hear about the pros and cons, the experience, the whole 9 yards. I've had a conversation with someone quite close to me who I'm friends with, and, that process sounded absolutely brutal, going to the clinic and everything, and it's a good portion of it wasn't necessarily the deed itself or dealing with the mental anguish afterwards. A good portion of it was the trauma just to get to the facility, because there's protesters and people screaming at you, yelling at you. There's pictures, posters. Like, they are quite aggressive. They're quite visual with it, and they do it to break you down so you don't follow through with it. Now, once again, when it comes to RAPE, when it comes to what do you call it what's the word when like a child has a baby by their father? When it comes to that, incest, I think it's totally acceptable. But yeah, this is my personal opinion. I love Keke Palmer. I'm not the biggest fan of Kamala because she gives me a fake vibe. And even with the laughing and stuff, if this was a little bit more serious, I would be able to take it for what it's worth and put a little bit more respect on his name. But it's a celebrity interview. You're only going to get so much from these. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I really appreciate you guys for stopping by. Please let me know if my quality has improved, because I'm putting a great deal on the visual and the microphone and the audio. My light cut off in the middle of this, so I apologize if like 20 minutes in the light cut off. It's a brand new light. I don't know why it did that, but hope you guys have a good day. Please hit the like button and sub on your way out. And this is a part of mental health, physical health, and emotional health, because having a child, whether you're a father or a mother, it does affect all three. And you want to have a good support system, and you want to have good resources. Make sure you have a good job if you're going to have a child. Make sure you have good benefits, the whole 9 yards, and know everything that your company has to offer as far as maternity leave before you're pregnant. Or if you are pregnant, switch jobs, be honest with you. But I'll holler at y'all later. Please leave a comment below. I'm out. Peace.